So good morning students. So today welcome to the bridge course class. Today myself Afrozarin is going to take the biology classes for bridge course. So here the first topic in the bridge course classes that is the cell unit of life. What it is? That is the cell, the unit of life. Okay. So see here. In the 9th standard class, already you had studied about the cell chapter, okay, which is the basic structural and functional unit of cell. See, all living organisms, if you want to study about this cell means that here all living organisms, you can take that all living organisms are composed of what? They are composed of cells. They are composed of what? Of cells. See, you can take an example of a microorganism, that is the bacteria. This is an example of what? Living organism. A bacteria, or you can take so smaller, which is very small, which we cannot see with our naked eye. That is also a living organism, which is made up of what? Which is composed of what? Of a cell. Except that one, you can take bigger animal, the bigger example, that is the elephant. That is also one of the living organism. Not only the elephant, you can take trees, plants. In plants also there will be small leaf plantlets or small herb shrubs and all as much as bigger as the trees which will reach up to a certain height. So here the thing is that I am explaining here all the living organism, either it may be a smaller than a bacteria or a microorganism, and either it can be much bigger as the elephant. So they all are composed of what? Cells. What are cells? One example I will tell you what are cells means. This is the house. For constructing this house, what we require? What is the main component we require means that is the bricks. What we require? We require the bricks. So after pasting, see, for completing the construction of a house, to complete to make a complete house, we require what things? We require the main component, that is the bricks. Except that we require the cement, whatever the water, whatever the thing to paste that bricks one by one and construct a bigger house. So like that only here, the human being is also, not only the human being, the living organism is also composed of what? Of a cell. For a better develop, for a whatever the developed body will be there of a living organism, that is made up of what? Cells. So here what I had explained, that how the bricks will complete a formation of what? Of a house. Like that only here the body of living organisms are made up of a million number of cells. Here what is cell? First we will see what is the cell. So here we can say cell is one of the basic unit of, or the basic structural and functional unit of life. What is cell means? That we can describe this cell as a basic structural and functional unit of life, or living organisms. Okay, what is cell means? Which is the basic structural and functional unit of what? Life. See, all organisms are capable of independent existence. Their body will divide Each cell will divide to complete a mature body, to form a mature body. That's why we are telling that all cells have a independent existence, except that they can perform essential functions of life. These cells, that group of cells we can call, we will call it as the tissues. The tissues, that group of tissues, we are calling it as the organs. The organs such as the heart, kidney, liver, these all are performing a very essential functions in the body, which are very necessary to maintain a life. Okay, so here, so anything less than a complete cell does not ensure a independent living. Here, that's why we are calling the cell as the structural and functional unit of life. Okay, the next thing here, the cell, whatever the cell which is composed of the living organism which are composed of the cell, based on the number of cells. See, you had already studied in the 10th standard or 9th standard class, there are 5 kingdoms of living organisms. What are the 5 kingdoms of living organisms? Here I will tell you, that is kingdom Monera, kingdom Protistum, Mycota, Plantae, and one more, that is Animalia. Okay, so these all are what? These all are the 5 kingdom classification of what? Living organism. So what I am going to say here, why I am telling about these 5 kingdoms is, here they all, see, all living organisms, whatever the living organism which are existing on this earth, that all living organisms are divided into 5 kingdoms that you already know. All living organisms are classified into these 5 kingdoms. So here it will include a smaller, very small living organisms such as the bacteria, which are very smaller, which we cannot see with our naked eye. Okay, so there, whatever the body of these bacteria will be there, it will be so smaller. So we cannot see with our naked eye. We use some of the instruments such as the microscopes to visualize or to see that particular organism. So here, as well as we require a highly powerful microscope to see that particular bacteria. See, we are telling that our body is composed of a many number of cells. How we can say, how we can whether we can see any cells with our naked eye? No, the cells are so smaller. We require certain instruments, certain techniques to see that particular cells. So here, the kingdom Monera, to which all the bacteria will belong, then protozoans, then fungi, plantae, plants, then animals. So all these living organisms, here the bacteria are all these organisms are composed of cells. Some are composed of only one cell. Okay, and some are composed of many cells. And whatever the organisms which are composed of only one cell, they are known as the unicellular cells. Okay, and the organisms which are composed of many cells, many number of cells, they are known as the multicellular cells. So what they are known as? They are known as the multicellular cells. See here, on the basis of the number of cells, how many types or what are the classification of living organisms? Let's see here. See, some of living organisms composed of only one cell. How many cells? Of only one cell. And that type of living organism, here we can call them as unicellular organism. What we can call? We can call them as the unicellular organisms. And the second thing, one more classification is there, that is some of the living organisms which are composed of many cells. Okay, more than one. Okay, if more than one means many cells. Okay, many number of cells or more than one, also we can say many number of cells. And that particular organisms are called as the multicellular organisms. What they are called as? They are called as the multicellular organisms. See here, whatever the living organisms, which are composed of only one cell. Okay, only one cell. That particular organisms are known as the unicellular organisms. And the next thing here, that some of the living organisms which are composed of many number of cells or many cells, they are known as the multicellular organism. Okay, what are the examples of unicellular and multicellular organism? Here, the bacteria. Example for unicellular are bacteria. This is whatever the all bacteria will be there, they all will be unicellular. And what are the examples of multicellular organisms? That is plants, animals, protozoans. Then see, some of the protozoans or protists will be unicellular and some of them will be multicellular. Okay. Then plants, animals, fungi, algae, these all are living organisms are what? They all are multicellular except bacteria and protists, some of the protists. Okay. So this is about what? Unicellular and multicellular organisms. See, whatever the one more very important point. See here, the study of one branch of biology is there. One branch of biology which specially deals with the study of cell and their structure. What it is, you see here, that is known as the cytology. What it is known as? It is known as the cytology. Here, what do you mean by cytology? So, it is the study of the cell and their structure. Study of the cell and their structure. This particular cytology means this is one of the branch of biology which specially deals with the study of the cell and their structure, that is known as the cytology. This is also one of the important point. So next we will go for cell theory. Okay. Before going to cell theory, I want to say about the discovery of cell. Okay. Before we will go for the cell theory, we will discuss about the discovery of the cell. Let's see here. Who has first discovered or who has first saw a cell? Next, that is the discovery of cell. So first, who had discovered here means that is a person whose name is Robert Hooke. Who is the person? The name of that person is Robert Hooke. Okay, he is the person who has first observed a cell. First observed a cell. Where he had observed a cell means that is in a car. What do you mean by car means? This is one of the part of what? Of the whatever the bark will be there on the stem of the plants or trees, that carcanium will be there. And cells, a group of cells will be there, to which we are calling it as the carcanium. That in that carc, he first observed a what? Here first observed a cell. So here he first observed a cell in the carc, but what he was actually, the cell was an enclosing space left by the dead protoplast. Next, one more scientist is there. He first observed the cell, but he had not given a conclusion about the cell. The next one more scientist whose name is Anton van Leeuwenhoek. What? Anton van, the second person on the discovery of the cell. The name of that person is Anton van Leeuwenhoek. Leeuwenhoek is the second person who first observed a living cell. What Robert Hooke said means he first saw cell in the carcanium, but he concluded that there is a particular dead space in the carcanium. That is the wrong conclusion about the discovery. Okay, who first saw cell means that is the Robert Hooke. But who said that cell is a living cell? Okay, see, who is that person means who first observed, then he what he say or observed a living cell. Here, observe and saw a living cell. Okay, only cell, that is Robert Hooke, but who said that cell is a living? There are certain components in the cell. Who said that means that is the Anton van Leeuwenhoek. And the third person, that is the Robert Brown. Here some more person added to the discovery of the cell, and the name is Robert Brown. The third person, that is the Robert Brown. What he saw or what he observed or what he discovered means he said or discovered the presence of nucleus in the cell. What he saw, that he saw or he discovered, he first discovered presence of nucleus in the cell. As there is the presence of one dense cell organelle, which is membrane bound cell organelle, okay, which is enclosed into a nuclear membrane. That particular membrane bound cell organelle contains the chromosomes, and that chromosomes will contain the DNA, which we are calling it as the genetic material. Who first saw that one means the name of that person is the Robert Brown. So in this way, then further there was an invention of what? Microscopes. Okay, due to the invention of microscopes and their improvement leading to the development of further the cell organelles. Okay, or the structural details of the cell organelles, as well as there is a particular so this is about what? Cell discovery of the cell. The next we will see about the cell theory. Okay, what do you mean by cell theory? What they had mentioned in the statement of the cell theory. See here, in the year, next cell theory. Okay, in the year 1838, a person whose name is Matthias Caledon. What is the name? Matthias Caledon. Okay, this is the person who is a German botanist who examined what he was. He was a German botanist. Botanist means a specialization in the study of plants. So then you will call it as the botanist. This person belongs to the Germany. That's why we are calling it as the German botanist. He observed, he examined a large number of plants and observed that all plants are composed of what? Different kinds of cells which form the tissues of the plant. At the same time, one more scientist whose name is Theodor Scaven, in the same year, that is in the 1838, one more scientist whose name is Theodor Scaven. Theodor Scaven, who is the British zoologist. What he was? He was the British zoologist. Here one more term comes, that is the zoologist, means a specialization in the study of animals. Okay, that's in the same year. In the same year, that is in the 1838. Here also 1838. One person, Matthias Caledon from the German, a botanist, has saw a plant, their cell structure, there's details of that particular plant cell structure. See here. Studied or discovered the plant cell structure. One more, at the same time, one more person whose name is Theodor Scaven, who had studied on the animal cells. Okay, or observed or discovered the animals or animal cell structure. So here, why am I telling about these two persons? Because they proposed a cell theory. What they did means, they proposed the cell theory. What are the fundamental features of that cell theory? We will see here. Okay, see, both of these persons has proposed a cell theory. So let's see here. Both of them proposed a cell theory. And what was that cell theory? What are the fundamental features of the cell theory? Here I will write fundamental features of cell theory. In that first one, here, before going to the first one, I want to say, see, whatever the living organisms are there, they are composed of cell, that we had said. Okay, here they are composed of what? Cell and their products. This is the first fundamental feature of what? Cell theory. What it is? all living organisms, all living organisms are composed of cells and their products. What do you mean by these products means, there are certain cell organelles, such as the first thing, the first and very important part of the cell, or very important part of the cell, that is the cytoplasm. Okay, except the cytoplasm, there will be presence of nucleus, in which there will be presence of genetic materials. Except that, there will be presence of certain cell organelles such as mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, vacuoles, cell membrane, plasma membrane, cell wall. These all are what? These all are the products of what? Of cell. So whatever the cells will be there, either the organism that is unicellular or it may be multicellular, that all are composed of what? That all are composed of cells and their products. This is the first fundamental feature of what? Of cell theory. The second fundamental feature of this cell theory means, all cells arises from the pre-existing cells. The second thing, that all cells arises from the pre-existing cells. That means, here you see, all cells arises from the pre-existing cells means, all cells, they have the ability to divide, to multiply. Okay, all cells will have one of the important ability, that is the to divide or to multiply. Here I will show here that if this is the one cell, okay, this one cell will divide and form the two cells. That means, this is the first cell. In the first generation, this is the first cell, and here it is the first and second cell. These 1 and 2 cells are coming from the one cell. Okay, again this will divide and they will form 1, 2, 1, 2. In this way, again they will divide and they will also form 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That means, see here, all cells arises from the pre-existing cells. That means, here one cell will come from their parent cell. Okay, and whatever the new cells will be there, they are coming from their parent cell. That means, they are not going to come from anywhere, from the environment. Here only in the body itself of the living organism, that each cell has the ability to divide. That's why we are calling all cells arises from the pre-existing cells. Whatever the back cells, the parent cells will be there, that cells will give rise to the next cells. That is the meaning of what? All cells arises from the pre-existing cells. So this is the second fundamental feature of what? Cell theory. The next, we will go for an overview of a cell. We will see some of the details of the cell. Okay. So this is about the cell theory. Here, an overview of a cell. Overview of a cell. This is the next topic. Here, in the overview of a cell, I will tell you the difference between the animal cell and the plant cell. Okay. So here, animal cell. Before going to the animal cell, I will tell you about here. However, the cell, this is the cell, for example, if this is the cell, in this cell there will be presence of one dense membrane bound cell organelle. Okay, what is that cell organelle? Naturally, commonly, what are the cell organelles? We will see here. Before going to that one, what are the cell organelles in the cell? What are the cell organelles? Means first thing, that is the nucleus, mitochondria, then vacuoles, plastids, endoplasmic reticulum, vacuoles, plastids, endoplasmic reticulum, then Golgi complex or Golgi apparatus, then cytoplasm. Except these things, there will be presence of certain microtubules, lysosomes, mesosomes, then cell wall, lysosome, mesosome, cell walls, then microbodies, then cell membrane or plasma membrane, these all are what? These all are the certain cell organelles. What we can say to these, whatever the parts, whatever the things, whatever the products which are present inside the cell, to them we can call it as their cell organelles. See here, whatever the cell is there, here one of the important fluid matrix will be there, to which we are calling it as the what? Cytoplasm. Here the cell is bounded. Okay, here the cell is bounded by the cell envelope. This cell envelope, either it may be plasma membrane or and as well as the cell wall. Okay, so on the basis of the cell wall, the animal cell and the plant cell has been divided. Okay, in the animal cell there will be absence of the cell wall, and in the plant cell there will be presence of the cell wall. Okay, then like that many differences are there in between the animal cell and the plant cell, except that in between the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell. So about that things we will discuss in the next class. So till here we had studied about the some of the basic information of the cell, then discovery of the cell, then cell theory, then overview of the cell. We had already discussed the cell organelles. Next we will go for the what do you mean by prokaryotic cell, eukaryotic cell, what do you mean by animal cell, and the what is the difference between the animal cell and the plant cell with their examples. Okay, thank you. Next we will continue the next class.